welcome to the DGD podcast. As always, Juan Daniels, Robert Reynolds, Kobe Pierce. If you're watching, you just saw Kobe just chug that drink, whatever it was. A little
Some
bit of an
go-go
all
juice in the morning.
go juice in the morning. So obviously, you speak of morning. We kind of made it audible and took a little bit of a last second audible, doing a little bit earlier than normal for those watching. For those on podcast listening, will not impact you whatsoever. Got a lot to talk about today, though. Obviously, the main topic here, we're previewing the SEC championship game against LSU this Saturday. Uh, rankings came out last night. We'll talk about that. Uh, and then we're also going to give out our championship week picks, the DGD picks of the week, conference championship themed, right? We're obviously, I'll give you a heads up there, disclaimer, all Power Five and all Group of Five. So just giving you a heads up there. With that being said, also the show is brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. BetUS, 125% sign up bonus, best in the business, folks. Go sign up, and when you make your first deposit, use code DGD125 to get that 125% sign up bonus on all sports. Listen, that's the best in the business, so let y'all know that. That's some free money right there to play with if you're not familiar with it. Um, but with that being said, let's hop into this, man. I'm excited for this. Georgia obviously coming off a 12-0 in a regular season back to back. We talked about that Monday. Now we turn our focus to LSU and a three-loss LSU team at that coming out of the West. Overall, guys, what are our we're going to break this down, but overall, if you had a general takeaway, how are we feeling about Saturday?
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
mean,
Go ahead, Juan.
I'll just say this. I feel really, really good. I'm not necessarily worried about, Jaden Daniels running all over us. If you actually take a look at a couple of his games, what a lot of the teams did is, especially Texas A&M. If you look at that Texas A&M game, they basically just dropped back in coverage and said, "We're not going to rush you. We're going to let you throw the football." And when that happened, it did not turn out well for him. So I think that's probably going to be something that we're going to do. We're going to allow him to throw the ball, kind of, something what we do with Anthony Richardson, and we're going to shut them down. I think we're going to run the football all over them. So I feel really, really confident about this game.
Kobe, you were about to say something. What do you got there, sir?
Yeah, I was gonna let Juan go first, but I think I wouldn't say nervous is not the way I would describe how I'm feeling for this weekend, but just an opportunity to get kind of two monkeys off the back again. Kirby hasn't beaten LSU since he's been a head coach. It's one of I think the two teams in the SEC he hasn't beaten. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of check that box, and then you really come in strong his second year and win that SEC championship, and then you've been to three more and really just 0-3 has been tough. So to get that second SEC championship and win it and just kind of moving forward to know what that means for Kirby and the staff and those kids, it'd just be great to go ahead, beat a team he's never beaten, win a game that he's only won once, and kind of propel yourself into that one spot for the playoffs.
So while you talk about SEC championships, our first Pat fact of the day, UGA has 13 SEC championship games, or championships, I should say, although only three since the championship game was started. That's a fun fact right there. That's a fun fact. Listen, ultimately, though, I think for me, I feel confident that Georgia is going to be laser focused. I think you could tell this is a sign of a young team where when you have no desire to get up to go play these games, right? Like we saw these struggles, right, this season. We've talked and they've been talked about, right? But when you have the SEC championship at stake, right, and this is something that you alluded to, Kobe, it's something that Kirby hasn't really, gotten much of, right? You got one in 2017 against Auburn, right? Alabama's been your thorn in your side for these games, right, in Atlanta. Now you got an LSU team. Obviously we had LSU in 2019, weren't successful there. 2022 obviously is a different year. Kirby is going to have these guys motivated, honestly, more than you would expect. Because first off, if you're not motivated for this type of game, I have to question that because it's the SEC championship game. Regardless of who you play, for that matter, you should be wanting that, right? You should be wanting that. Kirby's also mentioned that, talking about last year's team. Last year's team didn't get this championship, right? So I would assume he motivates the guys to get that on top of a potential to repeat, if you will, right? Be more, if you will. Um, yeah, I'm curious this right here. So it's early for Jill. It is early for Jill. I'm curious if she's got her coffee. She probably up. Listen, the GO double G's been up since 4 o'clock a.m. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to get up and take that Metamucil. And
She
then, of
wake the
course, she
chickens
has to
up, man. She
go.
wake the roosters up.
Yep, she has to go get her ball of yarn and then knit a quilt for her grandchild. So so she's been up for a while.
Hell, I guarantee you $5 Juan. Bet money she woke the roosters up. That was one of her daily chores.
Yeah, yeah. They should put that on Bet US.
I mean, speaking of, guys, there are prop bets. Like there are prop bets within this. So if you go to dgdpodcast.com and you go to the Bet US site right there, there are actually prop bets for the games based off of this. So we might be able to work something out just to have fun with it.
Yeah,
And see if she, over under 2 roosters that woke up because of her. Like 1.5 roosters opening up. Second Pat fact for the day: UGA and LSU are founding members of the SEC. We are 1-3 against them in the championship game. One, I think you mentioned that as well. So he is confirming the fact that we are not doing well historically against LSU in the championship game. But I do want to kind of break down LSU a little bit, right? It's weird to me that we've seen, especially last week, right? Last week was just so weird. To me, it's the epitome of looking ahead, and it's a trap game. As Juan's reading a comment, oh boy. To my point, though, listen, Black Adonis ain't even here yet, so he's not going to get. Black Adonis told us that we're not getting off topic, or he's going to make us get off topic. I'm going to prove him wrong today.
Yeah, well, we're not going to, but I do have to say that's not fair that you and I get the voodoo dolls and Kobe doesn't. That's tough, man.
I mean, this is what happens when you're the Incredible Bulk.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. He gets benefits.
Take too much material to make a voodoo doll.
Invincible. To me though, listen, I think everybody at this point, right, like questions that A&M loss. The SEC championship game now feels meaningless, right? However, I guarantee you're not going to hear Kirby or anybody in that building say that. Period. This is still a way to go. Like, there's some good team. Like this LSU team has actually got some dudes on it, right? And first and foremost, you got to worry about number 40, and that's Harold Perkins, true freshman. And this kid's a playmaker. And watching his game against Alabama, you're sitting here looking at his tendency, man, and it's just blitz after just pressure after pressure. And Georgia's offensive line, I think, will be ready for that, right? If you're giving me Warren McClendon on the outside, Warren McClendon being a fifth-year guy, right, going up against a true freshman, I think he's licking his chops for this. But you have to be careful with him because, like, he's freaky athletic. Harold Perkins is.
And honestly, give me BJ Ojulari to really. I am more worried about BJ Ojulari than I think I am Harold Perkins. Because a freshman, he's kind of how freshmen are. You're up and down. You have a really good game, but you don't know how to sustain that over multiple games. So yes, he has had a good stretch of games, and he may have a good game. SC championship, he may not, but I think he just is going to struggle keeping that play high all the time, especially now where Warren and Broderick both know to watch him even more on film, watch the moves he likes to use, watch his tendencies. He's not going to sneak up on anybody all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, and you also too have to look at the competition, right? So he's played some so-so competition. He hasn't played Georgia, and you can best believe that from a schematic standpoint, Georgia's going to be ready for him. They're going to hit him, and he's going to know that he's played a game. And this is also a big moment too. And I can just see him possibly folding at some point in time.
I mean,
He's played some good games. He's never had Darnell chip him into Broderick Jones. I mean,
so I just read this Pat fact, man. And listen, I was told that Pat facts were coming hot and heavy. This is interesting, guys. Neither Juan or Kobe beat LSU. Juan didn't even play them because they were scared of him. Interesting.
0-2 at LSU, and then a beatdown by the boys in 19.
Yeah, I was about to say Kobe was part of a historical ass whipping though, because like that LSU team arguably is the best offense anyone's ever seen in college football. Period.
Yeah,
that LSU in 18 sucked more than
that was a bad loss. That was a bad loss because you can't. It seemed like we came in and just weren't ready for it and just got completely overwhelmed. But I'm not going to bring back.
So my my first cousin, his name was Craig Lumpkin, who was back at UGA. He was back there with Thomas Brown, that group. He played against LSU in the SEC championship, and they just got absolutely mopped up. It was bad. It was bad. So
I got to stop talking 18. I got to stop talking 18 because I don't want Kobe to get mad and turn into Swolders. I really don't.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to do
18 was just it was just a tough year in general.
Yeah.
You said 2018?
The team's complaining that we don't make the playoffs. We go down to lose Texas. So it was a bad year.
Oh yeah.
It was a bad year.
Enough about those. Let's look at 2022, guys. Back on it. You mentioned BJ Ojolari. Listen, Ali Gay, man. Like, in my opinion, Ali Gay, that's a big dude as well. That's a big dude. But I think Georgia can exploit the physicality here, if you will, because they don't have those big 320-pound guys, right? Our offensive line, they're bullies, right? We've seen this over with the transformation. We've seen the transformation from a pin and pull to like a counter style offense, right? And that's something that I don't know if LSU's ready for. That you think you're ready for it until you get hit in the mouth over and over and over all game. A lot of people, you'll find out if they fold or not, right? Because a lot of people don't want to deal with that for 4 quarters. And I think that right there in itself is going to cause our running backs to have a damn day. Because if you utilize Perkins' willingness to pass rush, right, and you game plan against that, I'm just going to let you know right now, you're opening up some massive lanes, especially with a counter, massive lanes. That's just my thought there. But I also, I'm looking at it this way. Offensively, right? Offensively, I don't think they're ready for our offense. I really don't, because if Harold Perkins rushes so much, but he is so uncomfortable when it comes to coverage. So, in my opinion, Todd Monken will probably get him as much as possible, trying to get him out there and put him in situations where he has to cover. You're not going to cover Brock Bowers. You're not. Juan, we talked about this.
Look how many points Texas A&M scored on LSU's defense, and we are head and shoulders better than Texas A&M. Head and shoulders.
So before we jump on this, I have something to say. But Black Adonis let us know that today was the day that he was going to make it known that he was going to get us off our track here. Where is he? He's on the back of a milk carton right now, and Pat brings up a good point. He's probably watching Florida film. Just going to leave that there. He probably is. He's probably crying because I don't even think they made a bowl.
Well, he's definitely it.
He's here.
Just from a flight from Florida.
I spoke too soon. No, we've already been talking about this, Adonis.
Yeah.
We've already been talking about this. He's here. Good luck. We're in on it. Juan, we talked about this. Let's be better today.
Yes. Yeah, I've matured.
Yes. So, listening to, like, looking at the game plan, right, Juan, we talked about Isaiah Bond back in the Alabama game. There was an instance where Bryce Young missed a read, but my God, you put Isaiah Bond, and Isaiah Bond is quick, quick. And you put him against that right there, and he wanted no part of that. And literally, Bond just runs straight past it, and it was just a misread. Are you laughing at the Pat fact? Oh my God. Kobe Pierce will play a young Robert Reynolds in the DGD podcast movie. I'm not even mad. I'm
I
not
like
even
it.
mad.
I like it.
Like, I'm not even mad. Like, it's just showing my age, but damn. Like, let's be real here. Um, yeah, and listen, I think if you, especially how Georgia does though, right? Kind of reverting back here, Georgia, whether it be in bunch sets or whatever, if you put Darnell Washington on the line, you could use him in the pass game, right? Like in the blocking game as well. Harold Perkins don't want that smoke against Darnell Washington, in my opinion. I don't think he wants that problem. I don't think he does. So I'm just saying. Oh my God. We tried to get Juan to do better, and it ain't even Adonis at this point. It's not. But anyways, yeah, so I want to get y'all thoughts here. What does Georgia have to do to win this game? Juan, I'm gonna let you start.
Just be Georgia. Play tough physical defense, corral Jaden Daniels, and then of course on offense, just run the football. Like that's your identity. That's who you are. Run the football, and I think that they'll be fine.
Kobe, what do you think? What's your keys to victory here, sir?
Just don't show up like you did last year. I mean, everybody last night telling you you're in no matter what. We're telling you you're in no matter what. You are. You're in no matter what. Win or lose, who cares? But at some point, it showed last year, and it just is not what great elite teams do. Like top tier teams, teams that want to be remembered as a dynasty, walk into this Saturday, handle business, and walk out. So
Juan, focus, focus. Don't let it happen.
Sorry, I was
Don't let.
sneezing. I was sneezing.
Good answer.
Sydney Portier, really? Really? And he would say played a young one.
So I'm looking at it. My keys to victory is this: offensively, do what you do, right? Do what you do. But when it comes to defense, I think this is the key here. Setting the edge has been an issue, right? Setting the edge seems to have been an issue since we've lost Nolan Smith. Jaden Daniels, if 100% healthy, is an elite runner at the quarterback position. Elite. That is the last thing that we want to see is have a Brandon Cox moment where we can't set the edge. So I think the challenge should be towards these outside linebackers. Hey, set the edge, contain, right? Don't let them get outside of you like that. And if you do, Jane Daniels is in for a long ass day. I'm just saying. Um, if I'm not mistaken, she buys her coffee with it. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I thought she did it from scratch, where she would actually go up there and till the ground and then make
Not
it.
well. See, she don't live in Columbia though.
I mean,
It's like
Utah is technically like Columbia, isn't it?
Bogota, Granny Botox. Oh, okay, got it. So like I said, ultimately, I think defensively, if we're able to contain, right, if we're able to contain Jaden Daniels, Georgia's going to do what we do. We're going to make it almost impossible to run the ball. But you also have to look at, right, listen, Neighbors, Keishon Butte, right? Those are some playmakers if given the opportunity. So the defense has got to make sure that they just play their type of ball. But I am making the challenge to the outside linebackers to, right, to set the edge the right way, because you're going to have to. You're going to have to. You're going to be able, in my opinion, I think you're able to stop the run, but also that means you have to stop Jaden Daniels. So you have to set the edge, keep him in the pocket, so you can collapse the pocket from up in the front. Goodness gracious, this has been a disaster so far. Juan has completely collapsed already. We oh my god.
I just hate that they don't want me to be great, man. That's just
No, that's Adonis. Welcome to a Florida fan.
yeah,
Welcome to a Florida
yeah,
fan.
yeah. He said it's for Sydney. Wow.
But no, so like I said, ultimately I think Georgia handles business here. Which leads me to ask this next question: who is the player of the game? And Juan, I'll let you start here first.
You know what? I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with the big zero. I just think that Darnell is going to have to, not only is he going to be blocking one of their best players, but then going out there making plays down the field. I just think that this is his breakout game, and what a better game to break out is in the SEC championship.
Go be what you got, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip sides just to keep it fresh and talk about our linebackers, specifically our two middle linebackers, Pop and Munden. They are gonna have to have great eye discipline. They're gonna try to establish a downhill run game on us first, then a read, just a little read option run game probably later. And then I would imagine Munden is going to be playing some version of a quarterback spy at some points just to kind of keep Jaden Daniels in check, at least early in the game. Those guys are going to have to play good. They're both young. We saw last year in the Natty that ultimate form of leadership with when the Kobe basically, yelling at Channing to do his job. And so sometimes, you forget you lost that with the two of them back there. This is going to be a big moment for both of them to continue to grow towards being leaders and, kind of cementing their names as like the next two great Georgia linebackers.
I see that point. I think what I think is going to happen here is this. I think you look at offense, and I think Kenny McIntosh is set for a big game, big game, because of his ability to not only run the ball well, he's been running like a man possessed, but his ability out of the backfield. And how is LSU's linebackers going to handle him out of the backfield? I just don't know, especially if Harold Perkins is rushing. You're putting some guys in some bad situations and out of alignment and things like this if you're not careful. So Kenny McIntosh offensively, I think, is set for a huge game. But I do want to pose a question before I go to my defensive pick here. We saw A.D. Mitchell, albeit for a decoy on a fourth down. I think you might see him in a limited capacity, but how big of an impact could he play, him just being on the field? How big of an impact will that make this week? Just want to get y'all's thoughts and predictions on that.
I mean, you have to account for him. I mean, you absolutely have to account for him. You're going to have to show him some attention. No different from, you look at it last year in that SEC championship, we had to account for Jamison Williams. We had to. And the same thing with Mechie. Well, and if not, those guys are going to kill you. Well, if you just sit there and not give him any attention, he's going to absolutely cook you. So you don't want to take those chances that he wouldn't, so.
I just think he also creates a separation that we've been missing. Like, what I mean by that is, like, he's an excellent route runner, but also he'll go up and get a 50-50 ball because Stetson loves throwing in them tight windows. So it adds a wrinkle to the offense that we've been missing for the year. But, Kobe, what do you got, sir?
I think you'll see him, if you see him at all, in that George Pickens type capacity of he won't start the game, he won't be in, more than a play or two at a time, and you're just going to try to run him in real quick, get him a good matchup with a cornerback, and then take your one shot to him and hope you hit him kind of sleeping like you did with George on that long play. Great catch by him. But I still don't, because this game, and I hate to use the word doesn't matter, if he still isn't 100%, I still don't think you see him more than 10 plays at the most.
I think 75% is I think 75 to 80% is what I want to see him at best. Like, at worst, at worst, excuse me, because it's been since Samford. That is so long ago. Like, I understand high ankle sprains, but that has been forever ago. And honestly, I think you might need him for the playoffs in general. So what better way than get him back into game speed by let him play on even on a snap count? Let him play. But I'm going to go back to my defensive pick here. Defensive player of the game for me. Give me Chris Smith. Give me Chris Smith. I think his ability to close, right, going down the line of scrimmage, horizontally, right, his closing speed is going to be an absolute problem for their outside run game and Jaden Daniels potentially. He's just super fast. Now I know Mondon I think will be an interesting pick too because his speed to, because you're going to have to. I think you're going to have to spy Jaden Daniels, and I think Small Mondon is going to be that guy. So it could, but I think Chris Smith though is going to be an absolute problem trying to get them, stopping them, if you will, on any outside running game, and that's going to be ultimately a huge problem for them because if you can't run, we've seen Jane Daniels try to pass and it's not pretty. At least that's my thought. Um,
Yeah,
which
yeah. If you guys didn't see that injury he took, man, that was a pretty bad. I mean, it looked bad. I didn't think he was going to play this week, Jaden Daniels, with his injury. But again, I just think that if Georgia's smart, they're going to keep him in the pocket and make him make decisions and make him throw while that front gets to him and just keeps him contained. You put a spy on him, and I think that's going to hurt him. And again, that hurt ankle. We've got fast linebackers. We got fast defensive linemen, so I think that's going to hurt him.
defensively, if there's any, if Jaden Daniels has any signs or shows any signs of not being 100%, Georgia has that knack defensively. They have that shark, like blood in the water shark mentality. They will pin their ears back and make his life hell if he's not 100%. They find these tendencies, they see these things. It's even the minute details, and that's what makes this defense so good. Is the attention to detail is next level. It's literally as it's more focused. It's about as focused as an NFL defense, and recognizing tendencies and things like this. If they notice that, expect Schumann and Muschamp to just go after them, just pin their ears back and go. That's my thought on that. Um, Another Pat Fat UGA LSU is called the rivalry without rancor. We don't hate each other. We don't even really know each other. Interesting. I've always wondered that too. Like, you don't really hear a lot of people talking about LSU fans from a Georgia perspective. Like, definitely not like Auburn and Tennessee, Florida, all those guys. But like even Bama, you don't even hear it like that. It's weird, ain't it? What are y'all thoughts on that?
I think you're far enough apart. You're on opposite sides. You don't play each other regularly. There's no reason to really dislike each other one way or another.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. So like, yeah, hold on, y'all see this? Apparently, this movie is basically the Three Stooges 2022. J-O-double-G, come on now, do better, do better than that. You got Juan going. It's like,
No, I'm just laughing at do better. Just
Oh
just
my
do
god.
better. She needs to do better.
I mean, we understand you were a Groucho Marx a fan, but come on now. But not, so obviously we talked about that right there. But I do want to kind of transition now to another topic, and that's the let's talk about the hire of Hugh Freeze real fast. I know this isn't necessarily in the agenda that we put on the announcement for Twitter and whatnot. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Juan's already shaking his head. He
Man,
seems
Auburn they have a history of hiring some straight clowns that have a lot of baggage that was going on. So obviously, the deal with Brian Harsin and his family and everything else that's going on. But you get a guy in and Hugh Freeze, and I get it. People do change. People do have some different things. But You got a guy that was, calling escorts and just doing all kinds of just crazy stuff. And then that's who you decide to choose to, to be, the face of your program. Now, the other thing that they can do, because the boosters are very, very controlling, they're control freaks. They may use that to say, listen, we're going to give you the job, but these are the things that you've done. So don't step out of line or this is going to be an issue. I just it's really kind of a silly hire to me, but again, it's one of those ones where we just get, sit back and eat our popcorn and see what happens.
Man, he didn't even use his track phone, bro. He used a school phone to call them girls up. Like
My
not even
con-
a track phone.
my concern would be even more than that. Just what has he really put forward as a coach in the SEC? Like, I think one of the big reasons they hired him was they said that he's recruited in the SEC, he's coached in the SEC, he's won in the SEC. I mean, I think his best year was maybe a 10 win season with the bowl win, like 10-3, which is great at Ole Miss. I get that, but like the next year he went 5-7. I think they were talking about he had Chad Kelly, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. I mean, he had all these guys that are just superstars in the NFL, and they went losing season 5-7. I mean, it's just one of those things that then when he's been at Liberty, when you look at his best years at Liberty, he's had Malik Willis, who by far is the best quarterback in that whole league that he's
Yeah.
played in. So it's not like he's built this Liberty team up from nothing. He is taking advantage of the fact that he had Malik Willis. They won a lot of games with Malik Willis. And then this year they've been a little bit more down. I think they only lost 3 games, but still, I just worry that they pull the trigger, and again, they just really. I think it goes back to should have never fired Gus Malzahn. I still think he should be the head coach of the Auburn Tigers right now.
Yep. I
We're
mean,
gonna
Gus
take.
Malzahn had a 3-5 record against Alabama. It doesn't get any better than that. And then now you're going to get in, a Hugh Freeze. There's no way that he's going to be able to get the recruits that he needs. I mean, Auburn is just going to continue to go down, and then they're only going to have to, themselves to blame. But that's good for us. So.
Oh, for sure.
Good.
I question who even is going to want to coach on that ship with him over there, because if it goes down again, I mean, it could go down in a bad way.
Well, they did make the right hire. They did make one thing. They did the right thing in one aspect, and that's keeping Cadillac there. That's big.
That was stand up. Yeah, that was really stand
up.
up.
That's big. That's big.
Two good things that have been done this week by schools we don't like: them keeping Cadillac and Georgia Tech retaining the Key, Coach Key. Those were 2 good moves. Like them or hate them, they're solid people. So
I saw the reaction on Twitter to the Georgia Tech football team when they made the announcement that Key was the actual head coach, and it really, obviously we don't like the nerds, we get that, but the genuine joy that those guys showed when they found out that was the head coach tells me all that I need to know. Like, not only what happened Saturday, but in general. Like, those guys want to play for him. So that the fact that they did that, didn't go for the Tulane head coach, they made the right call. Now, how that plays out, we'll see.
Which I also read, though, on that same line, I read somewhere that the bump in the road they ran into with the Tulane head coaches, they didn't want him to coach in the conference championship.
Yeah, I heard that he wanted to coach the team. He wanted to coach Tulane in the conference championship, and Georgia Tech got upset about that. It seems like that some of the boosters did.
That's just very odd. I mean, Tulane has an opportunity to win its first conference championship ever since they've been a school. That's just a very interesting line in the sand for a booster to draw.
Ultimately though, right, for what it's worth right now, this could be completely different in 365 days from now. But what it seems like to me is for what it seems now, they got a guy that cares about the program. They got a guy that can get his guys ready to play. We saw that Saturday, right? The preparation was there. Nobody nobody all year did what they did to Georgia than what they just did on that opening drive. 75 yards and made it look easy, folks. That's I don't care if that's scripted or not. That's preparation and execution. That has to be accounted for and be taken with consideration. I think they made the right hire there. Obviously, time will tell. But we're enough talking about these nerds and enough talking about the Barners. Pat fact: every time a new Dollar General opens, Auburn gets a new head coach. Honestly, I don't think they got the money for that because there are Dollar Generals popping up all over the place.
Yeah, I want and I want to say that three of Auburn's last head coaches all coached for Arkansas State.
So I saw that correlation and I was like, that is wild. That's wild. I mean, speaking of general, he was in the war.
Is it a fun fact?
In the war. Which war? We're really not sure anymore. But one of those wars.
I mean, was he in,
It was all of them, actually. Yeah.
He's like the Wolverine. He's been in all of them.
Yeah.
Does it date back to the Crusades? Yeah. I don't know. The world will never know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was marching around Jericho, man.
Juan's the knight in the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
No. Juan is the Holy Grail. Doom. Shame. Yeah. Juan made his own horse noises too.
Yeah. Just.
Oh God, they didn't even have horses back then. That's how crazy that was. Man, oh man. Moving on. Yeah, college football playoff rankings dropped last night. There was a lot of discussion and debate here. Right, the top four was pretty simple, right? But I think the key here was 5 through 7, and that was where the general debate started. And if you're not familiar, what happened? Georgia State number 1, Michigan at 2, TCU at 3, USC at 4, and then Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee. So all night and even into the morning after, you're seeing Tennessee fans pissed off because they won against Bama, right? Same amount of losses, and they're behind them. Ohio State fans, I guess, are content at being 5, but Bama fans are getting pissed off because Ohio State got blown out, right? Ohio State got blown out. Bama's 2 losses were like 4 points or whatever. There's just a bunch of drama with those teams basically. But the top 4 stays the top 4, and ultimately, if you win, you're in. I think Georgia and Michigan might be the only 2 that are solidified actual locks, right? But that kind of triggers here. What are y'all's thoughts on the top 7? Oh boy,
the Horned Frogs. Listen, I think that Tennessee, shut up. Your Hendon Hooker's gone. There's no way that you should be doing anything. You should just be quiet.
But they do have 56 on Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
They beat them pretty bad with Milton.
And then Ohio State is just trash. I mean, I would put, and that's just me, I'd put Alabama in front of Ohio State. If you line those up today, I think Alabama smokes Ohio State. And I think one of you guys posted where the guy from the Big Ten said that if you take Michigan and Ohio State and put them in the SEC East, that they'd be number 1 and number 2. Like, get out of here. That guy has to be smoked. Whatever he's smoking is not available in the States yet. So there's
that's from Jamaican, man.
Yeah. There's that. So I mean, there's a huge fall off after 4. I mean, there really is. But the problem comes in is if TCU loses to Kansas State, which they very likely could possibly do that, then you're going to see. I think you'll see Alabama. I think they'll put Alabama, even though they're a 2-loss team. You take a look at the fact that they lost by a total of 4 or 5 points, and that's it. So I see them jumping Ohio State.
Nah, Black Adonis talk about my beard. Nah, why you talk about your mother's pubic hairs like that?
He said alpaca.
Nah, it's like why you talk about my coat when it's made from your mother's pubic hair? Like playing his ball there. Nah, it's the finest. It's the finest. You can't find anything that nice. Horsehair. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Pat fact: UGA beat their four college football playoff ranked opponents 169 to 42, which is an average of 42 to 10. The four ranked teams in the playoffs last night that Georgia's faced and won, we won on average 42 to 10. That's stupid. That's stupid.
I think I think the hard thing right now is people ignore how top heavy the Big Ten is because all I see is Michigan has the best two wins because they've beaten Ohio State at Ohio State and Penn State as well. And Penn State's a top 10 team. Well, Penn State's only lost to Michigan and Ohio State, but the rest of the Big Ten is terrible. I mean, we were literally having a four-way tie mid-off between 8 and 4 teams in the other side of the Big Ten to decide who goes and gets slaughtered by Michigan. I mean, they're sending an 8-4 team that's tied with 3 other 8-4 teams.
Vanderbilt beats every team on that other side. I'm telling you right now. I mean, they're just trash.
I mean, Tennessee would have ran the other side of the Big Ten. Would have ran it.
Yeah.
It was like last night when people were talking about, oh, what can Michigan do to be number one? All these things. It's like they can beat Georgia at the end of the year. That's what they can do to be number one.
Everybody, I heard that argument, right? Like Big Ten fans, ironically, sitting there trying to make the claim for Michigan being number one. They, and even last night on the discussion they were talking about how well they beat Ohio State soundly. They beat Penn State soundly. And I'm sitting there like, but you beat UConn soundly. You beat your non-conference schedule soundly, right? You're like the fact that they didn't want to try to even mention their non-conference schedule. That's the problem.
Well, the thing is I think sometimes the playoff show, the people that are talking, consistency is what a lot of higher ended football fans are looking for. And you're telling me at last week's ranking show that if Michigan loses the game, that they have next to a 0% chance of getting into the college football playoffs because of their non-conference schedule. And now this week, after they've won the game, you tell me, oh, well, they should actually be number one. Like, just kidding. Just kidding that they were one loss away from not being a playoff caliber team. Now that they've won that game, we actually think they're the best team in the country.
Ultimately, right? Ultimately, it don't matter. What's done is done, if you will. We have to consider this because it does matter who's number one and who's number two, because number one gets to choose where they want to go play their bowl game, their semifinal. With it being Atlanta, obviously, I think Georgia would love to be that number one, which is why the SEC championship game is so important. To stay home, because you, in my opinion, and Juan, correct me if I'm wrong, or Kobe, y'all went out here, going out west for a semifinal and then having to play out west for the championship. When y'all went, when we went to Atlanta in 2017, you went out west to come back home.
Mm-hmm.
Now you would be, if you're second, you go out west and then stay out west. If you're looking at it that way, you know what I mean. So seeding does matter.
The question though is that an advantage? Because that's exactly what Michigan. I would fully expect Michigan to go from bowl site if they win straight to national championship site. I would not fly my team back to Michigan, and I would gamble that Harbaugh will not. I will gamble that he will take Michigan and they will go straight to bowl site and be there a couple days early.
It would make sense. I mean, I would assume that. But at the same time, you're prolonging a trip out there, if you will, right? But we've seen that where we've had to see that change. Juan's just not elite today. Juan is not elite today. We've seen instances where it kind of dinged us a little bit, right? Making that trip, because you lose prep time. And when it comes to the playoffs, preparation is key. You know what I mean? It's not like was it Clemson that played Notre Dame and then Ohio State, so they were game planning for Ohio State, and I think they even mentioned that. Like their prep for the semifinals was actually prepping for Ohio State or Alabama, whoever won that game, I think it was. That right there, that was just telling to me like, they used it was just wild to think about that, but that prep time is key, especially when you have time to do it. You know, I think Juan broke based off of the comment. This Pat fact: there is nothing as shiny as Juan's head except whatever was in that briefcase in Pulp Fiction. Which leaves the question: what the hell was that?
What was in there?
I don't think Grease is going to help JOGG, but good try. Y'all ready for picks? Y'all ready for picks?
Get into it.
All right.
Let's
We're
pick
gonna
'em.
take a quick break, and we're gonna come back and make our championship picks of the week. Stick around. We'll be right back. Conference championship, folks. It is the conference championship week, and we're about to give you the picks of the week for that matter. Let's go ahead and jump this in. First off, rankings for last week, folks. We'll pull up the graphic here. The Brigade went 5-5, finishing off the regular season at 86-44. Lost a spot to Mr. Daniels up there. Juan is pointing his finger up there, like ET, pointing his finger. Juan took over after this week at, I want to say, 6-4. Kobe went 6-4, and your boy went 4-6. Man, I'm just falling off. Like Ohio State just fell off at the end. Yeah, not much to say there. Juan, you have a one-game lead heading into this conference championship week, if you will. And if, obviously, for the disclaimer, if there is a tie, somehow, some way, if there is a tie, the folks in the tie, whether it be the Brigade and Juan or maybe even Kobe, will have the Army-Navy game be the deciding factor with a score prediction. Try to make that happen if it comes down to it.
How close was Kobe?
Kobe is 3 games back.
I think it would only be Brigade.
Yeah,
I have 3. I don't think we have 3 different.
I'll beat the Brigade.
Well, the reason why I say that, bringing Kobe, just crazier things have happened. If in an instance, I know, listen, I can't, right? I can't, so I'm out of this. So I don't have to worry about it. I'll just moderate. But in the instance of a 3-way tie, whoever's involved will pick the Army-Navy game. And actually, instead of a score prediction, we'll let Twitter decide who wins, Juan or the Brigade. How about that? Or actually, Adonis would be too biased. I would say Adonis, but he's too biased.
Yeah. I would have to pick a Florida team in order for him.
Florida's not in on the Army-Navy game, Adonis. No. So, sorry. Robert's burner account. Look at that. Oh, we finally made it. In the YouTube chat, we've got bots in here. Okay. Yeah. Lovely comments, folks. Lovely comments.
Love here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's my burner account. I'm sorry, but not sorry because that's not mine. Anyway, moving on to our first pick of the week. Man, oh man, this is interesting. Going for Maction. You ready for Maction? Toledo taking on Ohio. Interesting little matchup there. Kobe, who you got, sir?
So stay with me, Robert. I'm going to throw you a curveball since I see that me and Juan have only 2 different picks in the whole thing. Somewhere along the way, I will throw in a 3rd different pick just to make Juan sweat a little bit.
The drama.
But for this one, I'm going with the Brigade here and going with Toledo to win.
So the Brigade has Toledo winning. Kobe has Toledo winning. Juan, do you have Toledo, or who you got in this?
To be honest with you, I don't even remember. This is to me, this game is so bad. Um, I don't even know who I picked.
You picked Ohio.
I picked Ohio. There you go.
So Ohio has the, if I remember right, I looked it up a little bit. Ohio has the more losses than Toledo by like two or three, but they're favored by 2.5 in the game. So it must be kind of a toss up game.
Folks, that is Maction at its finest. Okay.
Good choice. Good choice.
So you want to hold on, even better choice. I went with Juan Daniels, and I went with Ohio just because he's in the lead. Just because he's in
Yes.
the lead.
Follow the leader.
At this, fuck, I'm 8 points back, man. I've got to do something. Jesus, I can't. I got to do something. Yeah. So there's that. I went against the grain for the brigade. Oh yeah. By the way, 69% of the brigade. God, pun intended with that bot that just came in. 69% of the brigade chose Toledo as well. Moving on. Moving on. Uh, Conference USA. North Texas, the Mean Green. UTSA. We listen on Monday's show. We had UTSA ranked in our top 25. One or no, we'll go back. Kobe. Kobe, who you got in this one, sir?
All you've been feeding me is all this hype about UTSA, so that's who I end up picking.
I guess I picked UTSA as well. So I'm going with Kobe.
Yeah,
Just got to stay ahead of him.
Kobe chose UTSA. Juan chose UTSA. Let's see who the brigade picks. 67% says UTSA.
All across the
My,
board.
sorry, I can't. I can't. Someone that calls himself the Mean Green. I just can't go with that. Just can't. Just can't. Moving on to the Mountain West. Mountain West. Fresno State. Boise State. Kobe, who you got?
Here it is, Juan. The downfall. I'm throwing the curveball on this one. I originally picked Boise State, but I need the Fresno State Bulldogs to come through in a big way and Taiwan and take this to Army Navy. So give me Fresno State to beat Boise State.
You picked the wrong conference championship to be sitting here doing that with, man. We still got some other good ones that I think can go different ways. But I let you listen. You make your picks and I make mine. There's a reason I'm at the bottom, right? Juan, who you got in this one?
I got Boise State simply because they are Harsin free. So that's what I'm going with.
Free at last. Free at last. Oh my goodness. Brigade also went Boise State, 69%. I'm going Boise State as well. I thought Fresno State could make some waves early in the season, but I think they fills it out fairly well. So give me Boise State. A little bit closer to home here. Got the Sun Belt. Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina taking on the Troy Trojans. Oh man, this is interesting. Who you got, Kobe?
See, I know you didn't like the Fresno pick, but this game to me, I watched Coastal Carolina get beat like 48-7 by James Madison last week. Coastal didn't even actually win their subdivision of the Sun Belt. James Madison just isn't eligible to play in the conference championship game. And I'm an alumni from Troy, so I got to go with the Trojans to win conference championship.
Yeah, so I think it's absolutely stupid that James Madison wins that conference but can't even play for the title. That's stupid. Moving on though, Juan, who you got in this?
Yeah, give me Troy. Give me Troy.
Troy, I think Troy's the better team. As crazy as that sounds, Coastal's played well outside of that game, but I've got Troy as well. Now the Brigade has 61% going Coastal. Does the Brigade know something that we don't know?
Did the Brigade know that Coastal lost to James Madison
You know what?
last week?
Not my problem. Juan's probably licking his chops right now.
Yep.
Might not matter, Kobe. You might have made that mistake for nothing. You might have made that curveball for nothing. Never know. Never know. Moving on to the last group of five. UCF taking on Tulane in the AAC Conference Championship. Kobe, who you got?
I think Tulane is going to be just really ready for this game. Is there a chance to win your first conference championship? You win and you basically solidify playing in a New Year's Six bowl. There's been some whispers about your coach leaving you, and ultimately he's there. I think he's ready. I think he knows if he wins this game and maybe even competitive in a New Year's Six that he could be up for a big time job, even bigger than you know coaching the nerds up.
Juan,
Tulane.
Yeah,
Who you
give me Tulane. Give me the mighty green wave.
Oh man, oh man, man, oh man. I have the Green Wave as well. So does the Brigade at 63%. UCF just seems a little bit too inconsistent for my liking to take them in this game. Just my thoughts on that. Now moving on to the Power Five. Let's start from worst and work our way up here. We've got to get this one out of the way. North Carolina and Clemson ACC championship game. Um, don't really know how to say this. This is probably the worst Power Five based off of ranking. This is the worst one. Anyways, who you got in this one, Kobe?
I think I'm just gonna quick segue right back. I think I was really surprised to see that Clemson only dropped one spot after losing the game to South Carolina in the college football playoff rankings. Just was
That baffled me too, because they like I understand they lost by 1 point, and they move and listen. South Carolina earned that top 25 ranking, or actually now they're 19, I think it was. They earned that. Like they went shot up the board, but I feel like they use that leverage, basic moving them up so high that fast to leverage Clemson only falling one spot. And Clemson is not the ninth best team in the country. They're just not. They have been struggling. You know what I mean? For what it's worth. So
I agree. Sometimes I feel like we don't look at the whole body of work. But with that being said, I am still going to go with Clemson over UNC in this mid-off of a ACC championship game. Both teams are absolutely
holy
terrible.
Juan, who you got?
DJ Uglies, or whatever, however you say his last name, is so bad. But the only thing worse than him is North Carolina's defense. It is so bad. So I see this being a barn burner. I'm taking the over, and give me Clemson at the end.
In DJ's last game as a Clemson Tiger.
Yes.
Well, for the bowl game, I guess,
Yeah.
but still coming up soon.
I think the key here is can DJ Uyalungalele lead that offense to more points than Drake May in that Chapel Hill offense? Because it's just one of these questions, right? Like how things play. But give me Clemson, and I think it's a close one. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if UNC wins, just because of how average the ACC has been this year. But the Brigade has got 72% choosing Clemson as well. Clemson, for some reason, plays a lot better in Charlotte, so maybe that's something that changes scenery will kind of push them to play better. I don't know. It's just hard to tell. Either team can win, and it still won't matter one fucking bit, basically. Now this one will matter. This one will matter. Utah and Southern Cal in the Pac-12 championship played on Friday, and it's a rematch. Southern Cal traveled to Utah, lost by 1 point. Kobe, who you got in this one?
Yeah, I think Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams are really going to kind of have their head not on straight, but just really hyper focused for this game. Utah beats them by a point on a 2 point conversion to be USC's only loss of the year. I think they'll show up. I think the offense will be firing on all cylinders, and I think USC gets it done.
Now I'll tell you what. Hold on. First off, Pat fact: I know one time Clemson did not play better in Charlotte, and that is right. And to Black Adonis, it's not that hard to pronounce. You just have a problem with enunciation. Can't help you on that one.
he did stay up all night. Yeah, Robert got a speech coach.
I'm sorry, I'm just that good. I'm just that good. Don't even have to say ukulele. I just say uyalanglele to a tagavaloa, right? It's not too hard. It's the brotherhood. That's all it is. It's Utah. Well, we knew
Yo,
JWG would say
yo,
Utah.
Utah, go Utes.
This was the moment of my life, Adonis. This was the moment of my life. Juan, who you got in this matchup? Utah or Southern Cal?
Give me Southern Cal. It's obviously you're playing a team twice. I think that Southern Cal has a lot at stake. I see Lincoln Riley having his 33 transfers ready to play. So
Yeah, I mean he's got the army of the portal army. Really, Juan. I think Juan could take him though. Juan's familiar with battle and combat
yeah,
for damn sure. Verse from the Crusades all the way to World War III, basically. Listen, I've got USC as well. Logically speaking, you know, neutral site, that offense is humming. Like Caleb Williams against Notre Dame looked loose, and Cam Rising has kind of had these moments of inconsistency that worries me, and against a team like that, because if you have a game like he had against Oregon, that's where it's going to be interesting, and that's why I think ultimately USC will. Brigade has 72% choosing USC as well. Sorry, JOGG, but it's just not your day for your Utes, if you will. Also, now we move to the Big 12, Kansas State versus TCU. I think this might be the best conference matchup of the week, in my opinion. I really do. Kobe, who you got in this one?
I think that I, I think TCU gets it done against Kansas State. They've already beat them once. I don't see TCU slipping up. I know they kind of like to be the cardiac kids and getting behind and coming back and winning at the last second. But I think you know I think they're focused. They know that a lot of teams have doubted them and that they need to win this game. I think they're in either way, but I still think they win, go 13-0 and leave no doubt. So TCU beats Kansas State.
Did I just get challenged here? So apparently, I'm getting challenged to pronounce Tennessee's incoming quarterback, Nico. Everybody calls him. Excuse me. It is Nico Iamaleava.
Hmm.
Iamaleava, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was Amaleve, but that's just me. That's what it looks like.
Google translate that bitch then. Excuse me. Listen to this. Apparently, we got K2G Wi-Fi today. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Give me. I'm going to go against the grain here. Give me K State. You know, it's always hard to beat a team twice, and TCU beat Kansas State earlier, 38-28. But I just see it just being a completely different thing. This right here is K State's opportunity to really just kind of, just shock the world, and that's what they want to do. And it almost kind of reminds you of the Big 12 championships last year. Oklahoma State was basically in the college football playoff, and then they go and lose to Baylor off of just something silly. And Baylor beat Oklahoma State earlier that year to give Oklahoma State that. No, sorry, Oklahoma State beat Baylor earlier that year, and then only to turn around and lose. So I see the same thing happening.
See, this was the hardest one to pick for me because when you go back to that game during the regular season, they gave up a huge lead. You know what I mean? They gave up a huge lead for TCU to come back and win. To roar back and win. But TCU has been playing some excellent football as of late, and we saw it in all three phases. Right, just a couple weeks back with the last second field goal. Even the special teams is clicking, and they're well coached. In this instance, though, I just got to take TCU here. I feel like that's ultimately the deciding factor. Is just TCU, and so does 91% of the brigade. They go TCU as well. Now, this is going to be fun. Uh, Probably the easy. I don't even know how to explain this. Purdue, Michigan, Big Ten championship. Y'all just want to go ahead and just do this? Michigan across the board.
Michigan across the board.
The only thing I will say is Purdue historically plays really well against number 2. I think they've beaten number 2 like
Purdue
5
too.
times or 6 times in school history.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think Michigan wins.
But I think all 5 of those times they had Drew Brees, so it may be.
He's GOAT at Purdue. Yeah, Michigan across the board. We ain't even gonna talk about that. There's no listen. That's an embarrassment of a conference championship. I thought ours could have been bad, but no, that's just worse. Speaking of ours, SEC, LSU, Georgia. Guys, how we looking? Kobe, I'll let you start.
The revenge tour is almost complete for 2018 Georgia Bulldogs. Down goes LSU by a lot. I think we cover. I think we're favored by 17. I think we might even win by 24. Georgia wins, kind of runs away with it late. Some backups, see some SEC championship time.
Get some good experience. What you're saying? All right, Juan, who you got?
Yeah, Georgia. It's going to be a complete blowout. I mean, and I think it's going to be early. We just come out there, we take care of business, and then we end up winning, by a safety.
Surprise everybody. Florida made it to the Atlanta to play the game. I'm just kidding. Adonis probably just sat there, was just like, yeah. Nah, Georgia's playing in the SEC championship game. Listen, I just think I think Georgia sticks to their game plan. We talked about this earlier. Stick to playing with Georgia. I'm not expecting a slow start here. I think there's a lot to prove. I think there's a lot of revenge that Kirby's a very vengeful type person. Juan, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
He holds grudges, and I don't see 2018 and 2019 slipping his mind whatsoever. So I expect bad intentions until we're up by like a ton. With that being said, I think the spread officially was like 17 and a half. I think you see it covered by 20 points, in my opinion, maybe like a 38-18, if that. If 8, I don't even know if they get 18 points, depending on how things go. A couple scores here. Dogs on top, 38-12. Eric Johnson says, and 62-3. Did not say 62-3, but he chose 42-14.
I like that. I like that score. 42-14.
That's a reasonable score. I mean, I genuinely think you could see this pull away, especially in the second half. It can get ugly.
I mean, that could be like 28-7 at halftime.
Possibly.
On that pace.
Like I said, it all depends on if Georgia has a slow start. I just don't see them having a slow start in this type of importance in this game that it's that important. I just don't see it. I mean, this team's young, right? We talked about when you need to step up and play for games. They've done that. We saw it at Oregon. We saw Tennessee, right, just being the two big ones. And I just think this game right here, listen, Natties are awesome, and you're never going to take away that right there. But Kirby wants that SEC championship first, right? We know what we want ultimately, but I think Kirby wants all of it this year. And what better way to do it than just beat down, right? Just beat down LSU. I think that would be the key there. Juan, you had a high top fade?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I had that kid and play thing going on.
Oh, man.
It didn't come up in the chat, but Black Adonis said Kirby used to shut me down. And I was just like, never in a million years.
I saw the never in a million years comment but at the same time, I don't know. I think that'd be fun to see, though. Right now, because Kirby still got hops.
What we need to do, because they keep archives of those old practices. So what I need to do is see if I can get Kirby to bring some of those out or whatever. So
he might have burned them. He might have burned them back in 2016.
He probably did.
I need to sneak in.
Yeah, go over there and take a look. Y'all might look at Kirby a little bit differently after seeing that.
Hey, I've heard him admit many a times he would never play for the Georgia Bulldogs now. I've never heard anybody say Juan Daniels wouldn't be playing for him.
Yeah. So I'm just telling you, he's you would see the film and then you start hearing that, in the arms of the angels, just feeling real, real bad.
God damn, make you sound like a damn sound like a Florida fan this past couple years.
Yeah.
Surprise, Adonis. Not, you know what though? Let's be real here. One last comment before we wrap this thing up. Black Adonis has officially put on his Florida State Seminoles attire, and I mean even Chief Osceola, he went to that level. Um, we know that, yeah, we knew that was beginning. I think he was the beginning of the season. So we got to put this up. This is going on record here. This is going on record right there. What, Juan? You said you ran a 4.7 at one point, right? What was your 40? What was your 40 time? Do you
It
remember?
was a 4.3.
Well, back in the what year?
Yeah, like a year. I think it was probably the year 6 of our Lord.
Damn. So you were the inventor of the marathon, right?
Yeah, I did. I actually ran it. It used to be called the Marijuana, but then they just changed it.
All right. Cool.
From
We're gonna have to clip that.
licensing and
Lost in
they didn't have
translation.
NIL.
Lost in translation somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have NIL back then too, so
Couldn't trademark it either. Everything
Right.
on stone tablets.
It was the original stuff was with the Dead Sea Scrolls, but that in some way got lost.
Some idiot lost those.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
There was supposed to be 11 commandments, and somewhat Juan made this guy break his ankles, and he dropped it and it broke. Yeah.
Yes,
Before
sir.
football was even invented, Juan was like, "Let's do this."
Like I said, no Google Translate to help.
So, good lord, marijuana is 63.3 miles. Okay,
Yeah.
noted.
Yes, sir.
Noted on that note. With that being said, though, guys, conference championship week, obviously coming off of the Thanksgiving week. Hope everybody had a good week still, getting back into the swing of things, if you will.
Are you going, Juan?
What'd you say?
Are you going?
No. I coach FBU, and so we got a game Saturday and Sunday, so I won't be able to go. What about you? Are you going?
Yep, I'll be there.
I'll be watching.
Get some good video clips, and then that way we can run them through the show on Monday.
We need to get Kobe credentials so he can go ask Kirby about Juan and Kirby back in practice.
Yeah.
Just that question. He might get more agitated than injury questions.
Yeah.
Let's be real with that.
Just tell me the truth real quick. How many times were you burned by Juan Daniels back in the day?
You're fired.
Yeah. It won't be pretty.
Now, Juan, we'll have to do it. So during the off season, like I think our one goal would be to get Coach Kirby Smart on here so we can ask him that question.
Yeah.
That'd be the greatest moment of DGD podcast history.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know what though? He's probably looking at me like, who is this fucking peasant here? I know Juan, but who is this fucking peasant? You got Juan and Kobe. I remember you, Pierce.
I was going to say, are you talking about me?
No.
Like,
Hello. Surprise, everybody. Like, who is this?
Like, I'll call him right now if I need to.
Nah, Coach Kirby Smart comes on the show, guys. I'm going to have to do this. That's how I'd be having to talk like that, like typing in chats and stuff like that. Just wait, we had him on what? Well, we had Adonis on. Yeah, that's when Adonis found his fandom towards the state of Florida, right? That was that moment, yeah. But you ain't Coach Smart. Anyways, I think that's a good point to wrap this up. We have to make a clip. Coach Kirby Smart, you're more than welcome to come on, whether it be just for a few minutes or the entire show. But just know that we're going to ask you that question. So prepare a statement if you need. It's okay. Man, that'd be fun. With that being said, hey, listen, have a great rest of your weekend. You know, whoever's going to the bins, obviously you know what to do. Kobe's still not backing you. Damn.
Yeah, man. And to be fair, I mean, Kobe probably picked more Florida teams than Black Adonis.
I was lining them up, baby.
Yeah, he was.
Had a good week. I think I went 9-1 that week.
Yeah. So I mean, we got to start calling a spade a spade.
That's my area.
Kobe and Black Adonis are undercover Florida people.
That's all right. 4 years in the service.
I don't know how many one has. By God,
Yeah.
I may have made a lifer out of it. No, when it comes to Kirby Smart, I am not the boss.
The the president. Juan's done so much time in the military. The president salutes to Juan.
Yeah.
Mr. Juan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a next level that people aren't really familiar with, and that would be the case. With that being said, have a great rest of your weekend. Like I said earlier, Adonis is done with his Florida fandom. Go cheer on Florida this weekend. Um, that being said, have a great weekend, guys. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Good dog. See you on Monday.